All right, I'm going to quickly explain how to fill out this document. So we've got our checklist here. Search your title in eBay. Check that the correct disclaimers are used by referring to the disclaimers document, and then you're also going to make sure that the location and format of the disclaimers are also correct. And you're going to go to the listing requirements tab to check that. Well, then I'm going to pick a random title here to do an example of, but you would be starting at number 1 and working your way down. And so we'll go to eBay, look up our item. Alright, so we have a headlight. We want to know what kind of item we have. We have a headlight. It doesn't look like it's severely damaged, just got some scratches. What other things? A headlight is a light. A headlight is, it's not a huge item, so it won't be shipped by freight. I think that's pretty much it to note about a headlight. The next step, check that all correct disclaimers were used. Alright, so we're going to look at our disclaimers document. And so if you click this, you get the link to the disclaimers document, which is here. This is the disclaimers document. And then when you see something like this, it says severe damage dash. That is saying that the following text is the disclaimer for anything with severe damage. Okay, so then anything that says no owner's manual, but you've got a set of booklets, should have this disclaimer, no owner's manual. So if you just have, say you find a listing with just a set of booklets and you're trying to search through the pictures to see if there's an owner's manual, because it will be written on the booklet, it'll say owner's manual, and there isn't one, then definitely this should have this disclaimer and it should be in the correct location. So that's another example. Rims, wheels. This one's a little bit different because there's 2 here. This is the only one that's like that. We've got one disclaimer here. This is the non-plural version. So this is if we're selling only one rim, wheel, then you would use this first one. If we are selling more than 1, 2 or more, then you would use this plural version. We are selling the rims. And so this is for rims or wheels. And they can have tires or not. And then all computers navigation. So this is like, you see nav, navigation, GPS. That's what that is. All computers. This is a big one. You'll see this a lot. Amplifiers, ignition, key, steering column, other parts of a key set. So all of this may need to be professionally programmed to your car. So they'll all get that disclaimer. Key sets. All key sets are going to get this disclaimer. Key locks, ignition with no key. So this is if there's a key lock with no key and ignition with no key, then they're going to get this no key disclaimer. Airbags, front seats, freight items. 987 front seats with manual lever. All seats. Here's something to note. You can see this says front seats. This says 987 front seats with manual lever. This says all seats. So let's say we have a 987 front seat with a manual lever. This is the listing that we're looking at, and we're trying to figure out if it meets all the disclaimer requirements. Well, you've got a front seat, so the front seat disclaimer is going to apply. So you're going to use this one. If you have a 987 front seat with manual lever, you're also going to use this one. If it's a seat at all, you're going to be using this one. And so for a 987 front seat with manual lever, you're going to have 1, 2, 3 disclaimers that you need to include. So that's an example. And then airbags, seatbelts, and components. So this is seatbelt components here. Brake components like a brake pedal, an e-brake, something like that. These are brake components. And then this is brake calipers. So brake calipers are going to be different from brake components because these are the actual brakes, and so we're going to use a slightly different disclaimer. If you ever happen to think that oh, I've got a brake component, a brake caliper is a brake component, I need both of these disclaimers. But you can see here that they're the same kind of disclaimer. They're black text with red imperfections. That should be a clear sign that you cannot use both of these in the same spot. And so you would have to figure out which one it really is, which disclaimer you're really supposed to be using. Windshield wipers, headlights and taillights, all lights. So here we have headlights. We're looking for a headlight, so great, we found our disclaimer. So we need to make sure that this one is in there. All right, headlight, computer, control ballast, not included. Let's go down to our description. Headlight, computer, plus control ballast, not included with item. Okay, great. It's got it. So that meets the requirement there that we include this. All lights. So here's another disclaimer that we're going to need because a headlight is a light. So this assembly may have imperfections and the bulbs may or may not be included. So this is our disclaimer that we're going to look for. This assembly may have imperfections, bulbs may or may not be included. So this is our disclaimer, we found that it's got both of them. So that meets that requirement that we include both. Parts cars, aftermarket unsized items. This is typically for rims or radios, things like that, that say aftermarket in the title. Our item does not say aftermarket in the title, so it's not aftermarket. Radio or radio head unit, use this one. Steering racks, complete engine. This is that last disclaimer, is the complete engine. So we've gone through the whole list. We met our requirements for correct disclaimers being in the description. Now we need to check the location and format of the disclaimers. So you have a fixed listing requirements tab. We had a disclaimer with blue text and it was in parentheses. And so that needs to go after the part name. Okay, so our part name is going to be here. It's going to be driver, hella, headlight, headlamp. So it needs to be right after this, but it's not. It's right after the imperfections. So this is going to be a problem. So we're going to copy this. This is our first paragraph here. We're just going to copy the whole thing. We're going to go back here and paste it. So here is our description. And the problem spot is here. We need our disclaimer to actually be before the imperfections after the part name, like it says in the requirements. So it should be like this. And then you're going to make sure you bold your change. So I moved my disclaimer over here instead of after the imperfections, so I bolded it. So I know that something was changed here. And I know specifically what was changed. Now the next one, let's see, the next requirement. We had black with red imperfections text. That was our disclaimer. So the disclaimer is supposed to be in the last sentence in the first paragraph. It needs to have the word imperfections. It needs to be red. And so if we look at that, we've got our disclaimer here. It is the last sentence of the first paragraph. So that's good. And then our imperfections is red and everything else is black. So that's also good. So that met the requirement. So we don't need to do anything here about that disclaimer. This is all good. So we'll just leave that. So the only modification we had to do was here. So we bold that. Now, if you go through here and you find one that's good, there aren't any problems with missing disclaimers, it has the correct disclaimers, the location and formatting of that disclaimer is correct, then you just get to write good to mark that you checked that item, and then you can move on. And so make sure you watch this video on location requirements. It's just going to go over this list right here.